This conference will now be recorded.
So we come to the most deadly infections that was known to the world pre-COVID, COVID-19, and that is HIV. HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. So that is the name of the virus which is actually causing the infection. And the advanced stage of HIV infection is what is called as AIDS. So initially it is not AIDS, it is initially HIV, that is an immunodeficiency that is acquired because of a virus. Now, this virus, originally, there are two types of, in fact, HIV viruses. One is HIV-1, the other is HIV-2. And originally, HIV-1, it was found to be existing in the regions of the African continent, and especially in the Congo region, the country of Republic of Congo. And with rapid urbanization and colonization and whatever advances that happened in human race, and the way we started exploiting the all the forests and the jungles, it was seen that this virus, which was existing in chimpanzees, HIV-1 virus, it jumped from the chimpanzee to the human trait. Similarly, there is another virus which is called as HIV-2 virus, and this was seen at again on the African subcontinent only, in a place which is called as Ivory Coast in the African continent. And this also this was in fact a very deadly virus, or is a rather deadly virus, and that also has seen to be jumped from the wildlife into the human body. Now, how this jumping of strains happened of the virus from the animals to the human beings still remains a mystery. One such theory which was put was that there is a practice of eating what is called as bushmeat. That means chimpanzees are killed and they are eaten in Africa. So from this bushmeat blood, they assume that probably from the chimpanzees, the HIV-1 and HIV-2 virus, they jumped from the uh, chimpanzee strain to the human strain, and then it further progressed. So initially, these infections were very commonly seen, especially in places like Cameroon, which is again in a South African region or in an African region, and then it first spread to South America. From South America, it sort of became viral in the entire American subcontinent, and it was seen that it was getting transmitted through blood transfusion, through sexual intercourse, and from mother's milk to the baby. And a lot of people were suffering from infections or from diseases which were unheard of, like what we are experiencing today with COVID-19. That initially we assumed, and we have assumed and presumed it has jumped from the bats to the human race, and now the complications are further increasing with the arrival of black fungus. Okay, so if you are following up with black fungus, the treatment given for black fungus is the antifungal antibiotic which we studied, and that is amphotericin B. India does not manufacture amphotericin B. We have to export it from outside, and that is why there is a lot of lack of medicines right now of it. Okay, so this is just an update for you to brush up your general knowledge and correlate your studies to what is exactly happening, or what or how the medical fraternity is developing now in handling COVID-19. So on these similar lines, even the HIV virus was discovered, and slowly it started spreading from the 20th century. Early 20th century, it started spreading to the different parts of the world as well. Now, when a person is attacked with HIV, it is not that he or she immediately develops AIDS. When the HIV virus enters the body, or there is invasion by the HIV virus, it causes the release of B cells and macrophages. These are the defense body mechanisms that exist within us. And then this HIV viral infection rapidly starts spreading into the body, and it starts decreasing drastically the count CD. When your body has been invaded with an infection, what is seen is there are stages in which the infection breaks through, or it crosses all the barriers of your body. So minor initial infections always, they cause simple inflammatory reactions where you have mild fever and stuff. Okay, the next stage usually is the stimulation or the release of B cells and T cells. The next, after that, the next stage comes is release of macrophages for protection. And the last step, okay, is the destruction of CD4 plus cells. So one by one, all these destructions are happening by the HIV virus, and the CD4 plus cells are like our backbone of the human immune system. So they being the backbone, if CD4 plus cells and T cells are destroyed, then the person develops AIDS. That means the immune system of the human being or the individual has gone for a toss. So there are stages of development of HIV infection as well, wherein the first stage the person is quite asymptomatic, he is just a carrier, and this can prolong for a very long period of time depending upon how good the individual's immune system is. So maybe the person has acquired infection in say 2014-15, but right now in this pandemic condition, this will flare up and he will get detected with HIV along with COVID-19 because his immune system has collapsed. So the moment your immune system collapses, the HIV virus will become active and it will acquire the entire body. So after this asymptomatic period is over, the next stage comes is where the host will start getting very frequent upper respiratory tract infections. Very often he will have cough, there will be phlegm that will get collected into the chest, and for any kind of treatment that the patient undergoes with cough syrups and stuff, he is somehow just not able to come out of that cough and the upper respiratory tract infections. No antibiotics are working on it. From here onwards, he moves to chronic diarrhea and sometimes the development of pulmonary tuberculosis. Like the virus, HIV virus or COVID-19 virus, it is an opportunistic microorganism. Tuberculosis or Mycobacterium tuberculosis also is an extremely opportunistic microorganism or a bacteria. Even the Mycobacterium tubercular organism can be a guest in your body for years together. You may just be the carrier of the infection or of the microorganism, and eventually what would happen probably is you would suffer from TB when your immune system decreases, or your immunity decreases, or your immune system starts collapsing down. So in this third stage, there can be symptoms like chronic diarrhea and unexplained diarrhea along with the development of pulmonary tuberculosis. The last stage, however, is there are a lot of complications that start happening. There is candidiasis in the esophagus, and that spreads to the trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Then the patient suffers from toxoplasmosis of the brain, and all different kinds of cancer start emerging in the body. And this is an indication that the patient is suffering from AIDS now, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So these are the different 4 stages of development of AIDS. Now this virus, that is HIV virus, is having its DNA material as RNA and not DNA. we have seen that there are two different types of viral compositions, or two different types of virus. One which has its genetic composition containing the DNA, and the other is the RNA. When we saw the DNA virus initially, when we started this topic, we saw that the multiplication happens in the regular manner where there is transcription and translation, which means the DNA in the DNA virus, the virus obviously is dependent upon the host cell for its existence, and what it does is from the DNA double helical structure, the DNA double helical structure opens up, and each DNA virus or each DNA strand starts generating its daughter DNAs. And from here, there is further translation. That means there is formation of mRNA, and then mRNA forms the ultimate step of protein synthesis. So this is the normal step of transcription, translation, and protein synthesis. Transcription means formation of mRNA, and then there is translation and formation of proteins from the mRNA that has been generated. In case of the replication of the HIV virus also, since it is an virus which is a retrovirus, which means the constituent genetic material which is carried is a RNA, there is an extra step that gets added in the replication of the HIV virus. The virus on entering into the human body will bind to a receptor or to the cell receptor, and it will deflower, or it will remove the protein layer which is surrounding it. Once the protein layer or the protective layer has been released, the viral DNA particles are released into the host cell. Now once this happens, that is the viral RNA particles have been released. Through the process of reverse transcription, a complementary DNA template of the viral RNA is generated, which means there is RNA is forming the DNA. That is why it is called as reverse transcription. In actual transcription, what is happening? The DNA is forming RNA, but here it is opposite. There is an extra step which is added, and this extra step is the conversion of RNA to DNA first. Now, once this reverse transcription happens, a DNA strand has been generated. Now, this DNA strand will now start undergoing normal process of multiplication. That is, from the DNA strand, there is again transcription, the normal transcription happening where RNA will be formed, and then from that there will be translation and protein synthesis. So, for a RNA virus or for a retrovirus, an extra step of reverse transcriptase is going to happen. So here you can see on the screen that there is you can say the attack of the virus, and the protein layer or the protein membrane which is there, it has been broken down, and the virus particles have been released. Now this viral RNA which has been released, it is going to undergo reverse transcriptation, and the RNA DNA hybrid is formed. Okay, so the green part is the RNA, the blue part is the DNA. Now, if you recollect your biotechnology basics, from the RNA virus, the DNA is getting formed over here. Actually, what is supposed to happen from a DNA virus, the RNA virus should be formed. Now, since it is happening in reverse order, it is called as reverse transcription. Now, once this RNA DNA hybrid has been generated, this RNA strand which is there, green color, that will also disappear, and further a complete DNA of the virus will be generated from the previous DNA strand. Okay, now this DNA will have the power to undergo the normal process of transcription, translation, and then finally the generation of the viral proteins, which will start spreading to the different parts of the body, and from one cell to another, the infection will keep on spreading further. Okay, now this is how the HIV virus is multiplying. So this is a very important information or important answer from exam point of view as well, as to how does a reverse transcriptase enzyme multiply. Okay, now the other reason that you should know this process of multiplication or HIV virus replication is these are going to be the targets of your drugs which are going to be used as anti-HIV drugs or drugs used in retroviral therapy. So there are going to be drugs which will inhibit the process of transcription or reverse transcription. There are going to be drugs which are also going to inhibit the process of protein synthesis happening. Okay, so they are all steps which are targets for antiretroviral therapy. Yes, when we began this topic, I told you that vaccines are an integral part of any viral disease treatment, and we have been fortunate enough to get a vaccine for COVID-19, but we have not been so lucky enough to get a vaccine for HIV. The primary reason being COVID-19 virus, the mutation started much later in the stages, and we could develop a vaccine before that. But that is not the case of HIV virus. The mutation in the virus is happening at a very rapid speed. Every minute there is a new mutant virus of HIV that is being formed in any and every individual. That is why we still have not been able to successfully zero down on a vaccine for HIV. So obviously, if there is a vaccine, it would be one way of protecting ourselves from getting this HIV disease. The other reason probably now we could say that we have not invested so much in HIV disease could be that it has not spread as a pandemic the way COVID-19 has spread as a pandemic. It has, in fact, it did not even become an epidemic. Okay, we don't have as many as cases that happened in a year as to how many cases that happened in a year of COVID-19. So that is also probably one of the reasons why we have stuck to the treatment and not to prevention of HIV. So for this treatment of HIV, or what are called as antiretroviral agents, so there are three types or three classification or three classes of drugs which are used in the treatment. The first are what are called as nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, or in short form they are also written as NRTI. The most common examples are stavudine and zidovudine of this class. The next class is the non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. Nevirapine is one of the most famous drugs from this class. And the last class of retroviral therapy is the protease inhibitors, which are going to act as inhibitors of protein synthesis. So ritonavir, saquinavir, indinavir are some of the protease inhibitor drugs which are used in the treatment as antiretroviral drugs. So these are the three classes, and we shall be seeing one or two examples from all these three classes of HIV or anti-HIV agents. So the first class, that is the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. We will be taking that class first, and this class is including those drugs which are obtained by removal of the 3-OH group, giving us dideoxyadenosine, dideoxycytidine, dideoxythymidine, and uridine and thymidine, of course. Now, what are these? This is coming from adenosine, cytidine, thymidine, uridine, and if you recollect, they are all purine and pyrimidine bases. What is the DNA or RNA material made up of? They are made up of these nucleosides, A, C, T, G. So you know that when the DNA double helical structure is being built, there is pairing of the nucleotides or pairing of the purine and pyrimidine bases. So AT is the pair, adenine and thymidine. Then CG is a pair, which is cytidine and guanidine. In the case of RNA, instead of thymidine, you have uridine. So there you have AUGC as the sequence of nucleotides or sequence of purine pyrimidine metabolites which are building up the DNA and RNA structure. So this class of nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, which includes drugs like azovudine or zidovudine or abacavir or stavudine, they are all going to attack the uh, purine and pyrimidine bases. They are basically going to inhibit the chain of DNA material from getting elongated. Okay, so the successful transcription or the successful formation of the DNA material or RNA material itself will be inhibited because the natural pyrimidine or the natural purine nucleotides or analogs that should be formed in the virus, that process itself is being inhibited by these drugs which are called as nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. They are also called as um, thymidine analogs, and they are seen to be very useful in the treatment of both HIV-1 and HIV-2 infection. So these drugs, that is zidovudine, stavudine, the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, they enter the drugs enter the cell through the process of passive diffusion, and once they enter into the cell, they undergo what is called as phosphorylation. So their triphosphates are formed. If you recollect the structure of any nucleotide, okay, the nucleotide is made up of three parts, where one part is what is called as the nitrogen base, one part is what is the sugar base, and the third part is what is called as the phosphate or phosphate group that is being attached. So only when a phosphate group is attached, it is forming a nucleotide. Now in the similar manner, these drugs which are being used as anti-HIV agents, when they enter the cell, they also get phosphorylated in the presence of um, kinase enzyme and phosphorylase enzyme. And once they get phosphorylated by the phosphorylase enzyme, they are ready to replace the different purine and pyrimidine analogs in the actual RNA of the virus or DNA of the virus as well. So what will happen? There is a viral DNA structure that is existing. In this viral DNA structure, instead of the regular thymidine or the regular cytidine or the regular guanosine, instead of them, there will be a wrong or a duplicate or a replica of that particular purine or pyrimidine base which will get replaced. So instead of having say thymidine, or instead of having adenine, there will, in that place there would be zidovudine or there would be stavudine. Okay, so these are zidovudine, stavudine are pyrimidine analogs. So wherever the pyrimidine bases are going to come, instead of pyrimidine bases, zidovudine, stavudine drugs would come. So it is like you are putting a wheel of a cycle to a car. So will that car run? No. With three wheels of a car and the fourth wheel of a cycle, the car is not going to be able to run. So this is exactly the theory that is being applied to the treatment of retroviral infections. That is, there are 4 bases, 2 purines and 2 pyrimidines. You place in a one wrong purine or one wrong pyrimidine analog, and you completely disrupt or destroy the RNA or DNA structure. Thus, you get an incomplete viral DNA. And because the viral DNA has been incomplete, there will be no multiplication of the viral cell that will happen. These drugs, however, they have one advantage also, you can say, that they have more affinity to the DNA of the virus. It is not that they have absolutely no effect on the human. They do have some effect, but the major effect that is there is on the viral DNA, because it has great affinity towards it. Okay, so this is about NRTI, or nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, which will inhibit the reverse transcription only to happen. That DNA structure of the virus that is supposed to be formed, that itself will be formed in a wrong manner, or a wrong DNA structure will be formed, where instead of 2 purines and 2 pyrimidines, one of the pyrimidines has been replaced by its analog, that is the thymidine analog, which looks like thymidine, but it is not thymidine. Okay, so these are nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. These are some other examples of it: stabudine, zalcitabine, didanosine. These are some other examples of NRTI inhibitors or NRT inhibitors. The next class is including a drug which is called as nevirapine. Nevirapine falls into the class of non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. These non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, they got discovered in 1998, and they are not used individually in the treatment of AIDS or in the treatment of HIV. They are always used in combination with NRTI. So these drugs, or this class of reverse transcriptase enzyme inhibitors, there are two advantages of using non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. Number one is it is preventing the HIV infection from spreading from the mother to the child. Many a times now, if you are aware of what is going on around you, the issue that is coming up is, can pregnant women take the vaccine? Can pregnant women be treated with COVID-19 drugs? Okay, these are the questions that are coming up. You have studied so many schedules in um, uh, in pharmacy or in Pharmacy Act, where they say that there are certain drugs which cannot be given to breastfeeding mothers or lactating mothers or pregnant women. Okay, but these non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, there is the biggest advantage they have is you can give them to a lactating mother, so that the infection does not spread from her to the baby through the milk. The other advantage of using a non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor is it is effective in increasing the CD4 plus cell count. If you want to tell that a patient who is suffering from HIV is having improvisations, then this improvisation is in increasing the CD4 plus cell count. I told you in the beginning of this class that there are um, stages of invading the immune system. Like there was a Chakravyuh. So the Chakravyuh also had stages for Abhimanyu to cross in. Okay, so the virus also has to cross stages to attack or break down the complete immune system of an individual. And the last, uh, uh, you can say the last step or the last attack is that on CD4 plus cells. So if CD4 plus cells count is decreasing, then the chances of the patient surviving or coming out of HIV are negligible. So the advantage of using this non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors is they increase the count of CD4 plus cells as well. So these are the two dual advantages of using non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. You can see two examples also on your screen. One is nevirapine and the other is Sustiva. This is another example of reverse transcriptase inhibitors, ribavirin, along with it being an antiretroviral agent or agent to treat HIV. It is also useful in the treatment of influenza A and B and other respiratory infections. And mind it, when COVID-19 was discovered, all these drugs have been evaluated for their effect against COVID-19. The last class of retroviral therapy is that of HIV protease inhibitors. Now, the last step for any virus to spread, or the last step for any infection to spread, is the formation of proteins in the cell. And once the protein synthesis has happened, the cell breaks open, and these viral proteins spread to the nearing cells, and they start spreading the infection. So what these protease inhibitors do is they do not allow, or they block the process of translation. They are basically polypeptides. Protease inhibitors are polypeptides, and they replace the amino acids in the protein chain. So you know that our proteins are made up of amino acids, and there are 20 different types of amino acids that we know. Every protein has a unique sequence of amino acid. Now, if any one amino acid from the protein for the formation of protein from that sequence is absent, you are going to get a faulty protein. So the logic which was used in replacing purines and pyrimidines in nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, the same logic is being applied over here also, where instead of replicating purines and pyrimidines, here we are replacing or replicating amino acids. So at the active side, especially those um, proteins which contain the amino acid aspartate, in the place of aspartate, your drug which you are using as a protease inhibitor, instead of aspartate amino acid, this drug will be taking its place. And once that happens, the process of translation will be arrested, the virus replication will stop, and the proteins will not get formed completely. So there is no question of bursting opening of the cell and the release of um, proteins, so that we can spread the disease. So the examples of this class of drugs, protease inhibitors, is ritonavir, saquinavir. Okay, these are indinavir. These are some of the examples, and this is the structure. Okay, you see, this is a viral polypeptide, and it is made up of this is a protein chain, and it is made up of several amino acids. We'll see one over here closely in one particular region. So in this one particular region, you see there are the aspartate amino acid is present. Along with that, there are other amino acids also. You can see there is glycine, isoleucine is present over here. So this is a polypeptide. Lot of amino acids have come together to generate this polypeptide. And the protease inhibitors which we are going to use in the treatment of retroviral infection, they are going to attack this region wherever aspartate is present. Okay, especially aspartate 25 and 25 dash. So wherever there is aspartate amino acid, the drug will get replaced. And if there is ritonavir present over here, then this polypeptide which is generated is a faulty polypeptide, and because of this faulty polypeptide, there is no question of formation of proteins at all. Okay, so this is one example, saquinavir or ritonavir, which will go and replace at this site catalytic region which has been labeled, that is aspartate 25 and aspartate 25 dash. At these as this protein subunit, the amino acid will get replaced by the drug, because of which there will be no protein formation happening. Okay, so these are your retroviral agents, which are classified as nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, as well as protease inhibitors. We have seen their mechanism of action, and we have seen some examples also of drugs which are used as antiretroviral agents.